This is Casual Babble. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Casual Babble, the podcast where we explore the creative loop that connects ideas, entrepreneurship, and culture. I'm your host, BC Babbles, and today's guest embodies that loop in such a powerful and inspiring way. My guest this week is Katherine Klimitas, an incredible artist, designer, speaker, and entrepreneur who has turned creativity into a thriving business and a meaningful platform for change. Now, before we hop into her story, do not forget that if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, give us a comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way you're notified about all of our future content. And if you're streaming the show on your favorite platform, Spotify, Apple Music, what have it, then be sure to give us a follow there as well. And connect with us on our brand new Substack, bcbabbles.substack.com. There you will see our blogging. You will get to see segments from the show. You'll also, as a paid member, get to enjoy our brand new weekday morning private podcast called Caffeination Nation, a casual babble morning moment, a quick 10-minute wake-up call for anyone who wants to connect with someone as they get up and ready for the day. We'll discuss some quick business news, some quick hot topics to help you wake up, get energized, get caffeinated, and then head out for your day. You'll also get, as a paid subscriber, the ability to vote on future polls discussing topics and guests for the show, and more of that to come. But be sure to check it out now while it's free, bcbabbles.substack.com. If you're on YouTube, then it will be in the description. All right. Now, what makes Katherine's story so remarkable isn't just her art, it's her perspective. She was born with a rare genetic bone disease that affects her mobility, but instead of letting that define her, she used it as a fuel for her creativity. Art became not only a passion, but a form of freedom, a way to express herself, connect with others, and shape her own path in life and business. In our conversation, Katherine opens up about her artistic journey, how it began at a young age, and how what started off as a creative outlet evolved into a full-fledged career in pet portraits, graphic design, and public speaking. We'll talk about how she's built a business rooted in accessibility, empathy, and self-expression, and how her challenges have actually given her a stronger lens for understanding art, creativity, and entrepreneurship. What really stood out to me was her honesty about the ups and downs of being a creative entrepreneur. She doesn't sugarcoat it really ever. She talks about days where she loves her work, days when she doesn't, and how both are part of what fuels her to keep creating. She also shares how public speaking became a major part of her journey, how telling her story on stage helped her connect with others, inspire audiences, and advocate for accessibility in all creative spaces. There's really just so much to take away from Katherine's story. She reminds us that art doesn't just decorate life, it stabilizes it. For her, creativity has been a constant through every challenge, giving her purpose and peace when life gets chaotic. And through her work, she's pushing for a world where art is accessible for everyone. Not just those with privilege or resources. You'll also hear how her entrepreneurial roots come from growing up around business owners, for how that shaped her confidence to turn her art into something sustainable, and how she balances being both an artist and a graphic designer. She talks about taking risks, saying yes to new opportunities, and finding joy in exploring what's next. This episode really highlights what Casual Babble is all about. That continuous loop between creativity, entrepreneurship, and culture. How one feeds the other, and how people like Katherine are living examples of that cycle in motion. So, whether you're an artist searching for direction, an entrepreneur looking for inspiration, or someone who just needs a reminder that perspective changes everything, this conversation will speak to you. Here's my chat with the incredible Katherine Klimitas, artist, entrepreneur, and creative force redefining what accessibility and artistry can look like. Enjoy. All right. Well, welcome back to the show, Catherine. Hope you've been doing well since we last spoke. You are an incredible story that I really want to kind of help circulate and put in front of as many people as I can. Um, to start off, let the audience know who you are and what your current entrepreneurial venture is.
Sure. So, my name is Katherine Klimitas. I'm from just outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. I am an artist and graphic designer, and I also do some public speaking. I have a genetic bone disease called osteogenesis imperfecta, which basically means that my bones break really easily and they grow abnormally. So I'm actually only 2'7". I use an electric wheelchair to get around, and I have an aide with me most of the time because I can't do a lot of normal daily activities that everybody else can. Like, I can't cook, and I can't go to the bathroom by myself, and I can't, transfer from one place to another. My life growing up was obviously different, right, than that of my peers,
Right.
but also just like that of my peers. So it was, as normal as it could be. But of course, this kind of affected literally everything I did. Um, and I got into art really early because my parents were always trying to find things that I could do because I went to a mainstream school, and so I was the only person in a wheelchair or really with any physical disability until I was a senior in high school. So, all of my friends could walk and run, and they were playing sports and everything. And so my mom was always trying to find different things to keep me busy because I was bored and I was driving her insane. And so, when I was about 5, she gave me my first watercolor set, which was just this, a crappy little watercolor set that you would give a child. And I got really into it. Like, I got really into art in general. She put me in outside, like, classes outside of school as well as in school, and then I did some summer camps, and I got to do all kinds of different media at a really young age, and so I got a lot of experience, and
Yeah.
so I got really into watercolor probably in my teenage years or later teenage years. And then I went to college for graphic design because I decided that there was a reason they call them starving artists. And
Yeah.
and then I really needed something else besides just art to be able to make some money.
Sure.
So that's what I did. So today I work from my home. I have my own business. I work as a graphic designer for clients, but then I also do painting. I do a lot of animals, a lot of pet portraits. I grew up with 2 parents who are veterinarians, so it's not really a surprise.
Yeah.
And we have lots of pets, and hopefully you won't hear them today, but you might. So we'll
Same.
see. Yeah. So we'll see. So yeah, so that's
We'll
kind
see.
of my story in a nutshell.
And
Yeah.
your watercolor work, now I perused your website. I know I mentioned this before on the discovery call, but I'd be remiss to not mention it here on the actual interview. Your watercolor work is awesome. Like
Oh,
it's
thank you.
it's some stellar work. If you peruse her website, I'll make sure it's in the comments on YouTube for sure. Check it out. She's got some awesome work up there for sale and for you do commissions as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, and this is actually my busiest time of year because we're getting into Christmas, and
Yeah.
it gets a little insane. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So one of the things we like to tackle on here, our newer thing we want to tackle on here on Casual Babble is this cyclical nature between creativity, entrepreneurship, and how that feeds into innovative culture. So regarding the earlier part of your journey, what was the prospect like for you, learning how you would establish yourself in the creative world, finding the way in which you could really make your own space? What was that particular prospect like for you?
Well, I kind of joke that art won by default,
Hmm.
because I could do it physically. It was something that I could physically do and that I mostly enjoyed. And so I don't like when I was young. I really loved I'm sure other people my age, I hope, feel the same way. But I really loved the movie Free Willy. Like, that was like my favorite movie of all time. I still love that movie. And I really wanted to do something with marine biology or whale training or something. But clearly, like, I was not going to be a killer whale trainer. Like, that dream had to kind of end at about 10 years old, And so, I was like, well, I really like art, and at that time, it was still for fun, right? I mean, I was doing all these fun summer camps. I got to do one that was glass blowing, which was amazing. Not something I could do on like a daily basis, but super fun,
Yeah.
and creative, and it makes your brain think in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I would say by the time I was a teenager, like 14, 15, 16, I had a teacher that my mom hired to teach me outside of school, who was a college professor. And she taught me at a college level when I was like 14.
Nice.
So yeah, it was really good because she taught me really how to draw. Like, she taught me those fundamentals that you learn really in college. And I mean, I guess earlier too, but my problem is that I lay down to do a lot of things. And so my perspective physically is very different. And so learning how to compensate for that when you draw was really hard, because I do this exercise sometimes in the middle of my speaking engagements, where I have everybody take a piece of paper, they have to lay their heads on the table, and they have to draw something, whatever I have in front of them, whether it's a water bottle or whatever. And then they're not allowed to look at it, and then they can pick their head up, and then I have them draw it again. And the point is not, can somebody draw? The point is that when you hold the two drawings up side by side, how different they look. And so, I mean, I remember clearly because it was hard. Like, it was really hard. And I was doing this on my Saturdays as a teenager, And so, I remember clearly my teacher one day saying, do you want to do this? Like, do you want I think you can do it, but do you want this to be your job? And I was like, yeah, I think I kind of do. And so that's just kind of where it really started.
And did you ever have a moment in that practice where someone really felt, kind of revolutionized by changing their perspective that way and perceiving art from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to do it with adults. I mean, it's fun to do it with kids, but kids cheat. They like to pick up their heads, right? And so it doesn't always work as well with kids. I mean, it works, but it doesn't always work as well. But I just did it this last weekend, or weekend before last, with a couple of adults. And, they held up their pages and they were like, oh my God, like, look at how different that is. And it's always a really fun exercise, because people don't think it's going to be as different as it is,
Yeah.
And then they look at me and they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, I mean, I've been doing it for, 20 years.
Right.
So, and I don't always get it right. I mean, there are times where I pick up something and I'm like, oh my God, I got to redraw that. That looks terrible,
Right.
But like most of the time, it's pretty close.
Yeah. And now, in lieu of us having an example of that, what tends to be the shift when they do that exercise? How do those drawings tend to come out?
It's kind of like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Okay.
It's kind of like everything just like shifts to the side. And the thing is, I'm not saying you can't do that as an artist. You can, but like it has to be on purpose. Like there has to be. This is what this lady taught me. Like, yeah, if you want all of your paintings to be skewed, that's fine. But you have to like have done that on purpose for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Not just, oh, that's just how it came out.
Right. Well,
So,
that's a really good point. That's a fantastic point to make. It's got to be that got to be. So it can't just. So she'd really be against kind of the idea of just accepting it and that kind of being your thing.
Yeah.
It's got to really have a purpose.
Yeah. She was a very. I've had teachers like that, and I love them too for different reasons. Because I feel like when you have that mindset, I think that's also good for people who are just beginning in art, because it's fostering that creativity, right? And it's giving you confidence to foster that creativity. And I had a great teacher who was like that as a child. But at some point, like Salvador Dali, who did all this crazy stuff, you know, he didn't just do all these wonky things because that's just how they came out.
Yeah.
You know, he had messages through his paintings. Like there was a point to it, you know? Yeah.
And I guess if you were to kind of go at it very nonchalant, with less, then you really wouldn't know how to explore it from there. You really you don't understand why that happened.
Right.
That's a really good point to make. I love that. So moving into then entrepreneurship, and your teacher kind of came to you and said, you know, she realized this started working solidly for you. This is something that was in you. Talk about then your opening up your business. What was that like? Did you take a lot of time planning in advance, kind of having a focus from the get-go?
No.
Did you kind of...
No. I still feel like I'm making it up as I go sometimes. Like, I officially opened my business in 2011, but, I mean, I've been doing pet portraits, since I was hanging out in my parents' office. You know, when I was a kid, kind of the way I got started on pet portraits is when I was a kid, I would have to go to work with my parents on Saturdays. I didn't have a choice. And so, I would sit, again, I was bored, so I would sit in the waiting room and draw people's animals while I waited, you know, because I had my paints or my drawing or whatever, that stuff with me. And, like, eventually, just kind of organically, people would say, "Ooh, I'll give you $20 if you give me that."
Yeah.
You know, or I'll give you, you know, if I give you a picture, will you paint my dog? Or whatever. And so, you know, that's pretty cool as like a 12-year-old, you know? And so I was like, okay, I can do this. So, I started doing that more and more, and then more seriously as I got older. And then really seriously out of college. But my parents both owned their own veterinary practices, and my mom is still practicing. So, like, I grew up in a household with 2 business owners. So it wasn't like... For me, I had offers out of college to go into a design firm, like an established, already ready-to-go design firm. But for me, physically, there are days where I need special, like really special accommodations, you know, where like I have something broken and I really hurt and I can't move, and like more than just I need a table to lay on, you know. And so for me, it's better to be in my own home. And so, I weighed pros and cons of both, you know, but ultimately I decided just to open my own business. That way I also had time to do my art and get that going again, because I really didn't do a lot of it in college, only because I was so busy designing for school, you know, for class, that by the time I got home I was like, I have no creativity left. None. 0, you know.
Tapped out.
That's it. I'm done. And so I really didn't start painting again until after I graduated. But I say painting again, but outside of class, you know, like outside of assignments. So it was kind of organic. Both of my parents know how to start a business. My dad was really good with paperwork. Unfortunately, he's passed on because. Oh my God, I could so use him now. But you know, he was great at, you know, getting an LLC established and, you know, all that stuff. That was, you know, he had already done it. So, you know,
Now, as someone who was a creative first and then moved into entrepreneurship, do you ever find it's kind of almost a dual identity that you're balancing, or have you found a way to kind of mesh them both pretty solidly?
No. I try to mesh them both. What's nice about my job is I do like it most days. So, there's a lot of people that don't. I do like my job most days. And what's good about having the option of doing design and art is that they're both creative, but they're different creatives. You know, it's 2 different ways. And so, like today, I did a bunch of design this morning I've got to paint this afternoon because I'm on another deadline with that. But I mean, that's like using my brain in two different ways, you know. So that helps a lot. I do find that art is no longer something I do for fun. It's no longer really a pastime. It's definitely not a hobby. You know, because even when I'm painting something that I want to paint, like, you know, that I've chosen, that I'm making all the decisions on, I'm still in the back of my mind going, okay, this painting would be really good on a mug, or this painting would be really good, and I bet you it would sell if I put it, you know, this way, or if I framed it this way. So, like, there's always that voice going on in my head, you know? So, you know.
Kind of the same way with me when I became a broadcast major and I can no longer watch a movie without dishing on, okay, this continuity sucks. Where did this go?
Right.
That shot makes no sense. It ruined Hocus Pocus for me. I
Of
can't
course.
watch that movie anymore without tearing it to pieces.
Well, and I mean, that's like, you know, people will say, oh my God, look at this painting. And I'm like, okay, yeah, so they layered it like this. And like, my mom bought a painting. This is a great example. My mom bought a painting several years ago. It's just gigantic painting. I don't remember who she bought it from. It was some artist somewhere near here. And it's beautiful. Like, it's got really nice colors. And it's of cypress trees and like a swamp scene. And it's very pretty. But the shadows go the wrong direction. Like, when you see where the light's coming from, the shadows go the opposite way. And it drives me bananas. I made her take it down. I'm like, I can't look at that over our mantle. That's got to go.
So are the shadows going like towards the light source, or like what's going on?
They're like they should go this way, and they go this way.
Oh no.
And it's like, you know, because it's the reflection in the water, right? So like it's going the wrong way. And it drives me nuts. And like, I don't know if everybody would, I mean, I think some people would see that, but I don't know that everybody would see that, you know? Because, I mean, a lot of people will look at a painting and say, ooh, that's really pretty, which it is, but it's also wrong, you know? So, yeah, it drives me nuts.
Link her up with your teacher to make sure that there was a purpose behind it.
I know, right? I know.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would drive me crazy too. I absolutely understand that. That is insane. Oh my goodness. So outside of painting, you also do public speaking and you engage people. What was the first moment where, was it something you sought out, or was it something you were kind of propositioned to consider?
Definitely propositioned.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I had several people just from the time I was a teenager say you should speak publicly. You should think about doing Toastmasters and all this other stuff. And it was not something, certainly as a teenager, it was not something I really wanted to do, you know, because, you know, you're a teenager. Like, what teenager wants to do that, you know? And so, anyway, they, as time went on, and I got through college, and I got through, you know, some other things, like, I was like, okay, I got another opportunity to go into Toastmasters, which is like for those of you who don't know, it's like a program that teaches you how to speak publicly and to how to communicate with your peers and that kind of thing. And so I got into that, and I was in it for about 5 years, and as I went through the program, I was like, okay, yeah, this is something I could do, and I realized that, like, whether I like it or not, I do have a very different perspective than most people, and it does help to see a different perspective sometimes.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Know? So yeah, so that's kind of where that.
Now, was any of the concern ever kind of like you didn't want to per se take your perspective and kind of organize it, like you didn't want to like reduce it to anything that's too simplified or too generic?
No. Okay. I just didn't think it was that important.
Okay.
I mean, you know, like, I just, like, I had to hire some people to help me do some of my social media marketing because mostly for the reason that I don't see things as special that other people see as special. they'll be like, oh, but this is how you do this. I'm like, yeah, and I mean, like, that's not, that's not, that she's like, they're like, yeah, but nobody else does that. I said, oh, okay. I mean, like, that's not, it's good to have some kind of outside perspective, sometimes. Yeah.
Now, even though you recently mentioned that you art has shifted from a simply a special hobby to something that's always kind of rooted in business for you,
Mm.
um, what would you say is there still an importance that you would you say regarding finding your something regarding whether it's personal or professional and how that can kind of help cultivate your path?
I like what you did there because that's the title of my speech. Um, yeah. Yeah. So I've always said, like, when you find your something, like, it helps you move through life,
Yeah.
and so, like, it's good when you can have something that's stable,
Hmm.
like, I mean, because life is chaotic, right? I mean, no
Right.
matter what you do, like, something bad is going to happen no matter what, at some
Hmm.
point, right? And, so I've always kind of had art to fall back on. I mean, one example besides breaking a gazillion bones. Besides that, um, we lost everything in Hurricane Katrina.
Hmm.
But I was still able through the semester I had to be out of my regular school.
Yeah.
I was still able to do my art and do other things and feel like a little bit of normalcy, and like it
Hmm.
helped me like get through it. When we lost my dad early, same thing. Like, just it helps you move through it because you have something that's constant. You
Right.
know, yeah.
Now, from here on in, and moving into how entrepreneurship influences culture and essentially the next wave of creativity, do you have a vision currently of how you hope, or do you already see a way in which your art is beginning to influence that culture within art, how it's kind of helping to push new ideas or new perspectives on how to approach different mediums?
Don't know that my art by itself, like without me connected to it, um, does that.
Hmm.
But I think what does do that is the fact that I do have such a different perspective and a different way of doing things, and I can do these paintings. Like, that's what fuels that.
Hmm.
That's what teaches people. Oh, well, she can do it. There's got to be a way for me to do it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So yeah, I don't think that I mean, because there are lots of people that do my style of art that are very good out there. It's just they don't do it laying down, like, with a
Yeah.
super tiny brush and, watercolor
Hmm.
necessarily, you know. Um, so yeah, so I think it's my story and my perspective combined with art that makes it special.
Absolutely. And do you have any new project? You mentioned putting something on a like a ceramic, and I don't know if I saw that on your website. Maybe I don't know if it's on there or not. Do you already put art on
I do.
ceramics? You do.
Uh,
Okay, I missed
um,
that part. Then
I
talk about
do. I put
that.
so this kind of goes along with the starving artist thing, right?
Yeah.
So when you put out, I mean, it takes time to put out a painting.
Hmm.
Okay, so you
Right.
can only put out a finite amount of paintings. So,
Hmm.
and those paintings can only make a finite amount of money
Hmm.
as original paintings. But if you then scan those paintings or get a high resolution image of
Hmm.
those paintings and you put them on products that
Hmm.
people can use, because the other thing is not everybody's going to buy a $500 original painting
Sure.
and hang
Yeah.
it on their wall, right? And I do think, and this is actually a point where my teacher that I had that was so good, and I differ in opinion, but I do think that art should be accessible to
Hmm.
people. So, like, okay, you can't afford a $500 original, but you can probably afford a $30 print
Yeah.
and a frame from Michaels,
Sure.
and put it on your wall. Or you can afford a mug, or you can afford a pillow, or a Christmas ornament, or something like that. Um, and so I offer all of those things plus some. on my website, and of course, not everything comes on every product, but
Right.
but it's a good way for people who may not either want originals, because some people don't want originals.
Hmm.
They can afford them, they just don't want them, or they don't have space for them, or whatever. Um, to have art in their environment,
Yeah.
to have something nice and special
Hmm.
in their environment. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Now, anything from a new adventures that you have coming up, or anything in particular you want listeners to take away from your journey, your story, that you think could really help them understand what a next step for them could be?
Well, I mean, I think, just I find that people don't take a lot of risks. And I mean, I'm not talking about like skydiving, right? I mean, I'm talking about like, going out into the world and, going to a festival or going to an event, or because you never know like what's going to happen.
Right.
You never know what's going to interest you. Like, this is the example I usually use. We have a big festival in New Orleans called Jazz Fest, and
Hmm.
it's like this huge thing at the end of April and May, beginning of May. And one year Rod Stewart was there, and my friend and I went. We'd gone every year forever, and we went and got front row, like staked out our spot all day long, front row. Got one of the worst sunburns of my life that day, but like he connected with me from the stage and
Hmm.
was like, "Do you want to come backstage after?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, Rod Stewart."
Yeah.
And so then, we go backstage, and there was a big thing for one of his backup singers back there. It was her last performance with them, and so
Mm.
they were having cake, and we had a glass of wine with him. I mean, like, it was a whole thing. And my friend was like, "Hey, Catherine really likes designing for the music industry," which is true. I love music, so I love working in that fast paced industry.
Hmm.
And she's like, "If you ever need anything, ha ha." And he's like, "Well, actually, I need an album cover for my new album coming out. Do you want to put in for it? Do you want to put in?" And I was like, "Sure," thinking like this is never going to happen, right?
Right.
And he's like, "Okay, here, talk to my manager, blah, blah, blah." So we talk with his manager, and she says, "I'll email you on Tuesday." And she did. And, like, I got to work with him for, 3 months, like,
Yeah.
back and forth with him for 3 months, and
Hmm.
about an album cover. And
Yeah.
it was crazy. I mean,
That's
it
so
was,
cool.
but, like, I just went to Jazz Fest. It's not
Yeah.
like, it's not like I went there saying, "Okay, I'm gonna work for Rod Stewart,"
Right.
and so, and what's really cool about it is I'm still in touch with him, which is
That
awesome.
is
Like,
awesome.
I still get to like go to his shows and hang out with him and whatever, which is great.
Yeah.
It's a great connection. It's a lot of fun.
That is so cool.
Um,
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thanks. But yeah, but like you never know. So if you don't try stuff, I mean, I have tried, you know, like craft fairs, for example. I mean, they are hit or miss. You
Hmm.
never know. Like, I have done craft fairs where I have sold absolutely nothing. And I have done craft fairs where I've sold a whole lot and made great connections.
Hmm.
I mean, you never know until
Thank you
you
so
try.
much.
Yeah.
And well, thank you again for being on the show. I really appreciate getting a chance to showcase you, your
Yeah.
art, which will be posted as many places as I can,
Okay,
once
awesome.
it's come out. I look forward to seeing you being enjoyed by the audience. Please reach out again. I would love to have you on the show again down the road again, probably in the new year, but for
That
sure.
sounds great.
Thank you again, and I hope you've got a great day. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.